So we are talking about evaluating expressions, and what I mean by that is when you are given a certain value for a term and then you are substituting that into an expression and evaluating with GEMDAS. So hopefully that will make some sense as we move through this. So you're going to insert your value into the expression with parentheses around it, and then we're just going to evaluate using GEMDAS. So let's try a couple. And I'm going to write over here, we were given A is equal to 6, B is equal to -2, and C is equal to 3. So I do A squared plus B, -2, times A, 6, minus 3 times A, which is 6. Okay. And then we're just going to use GEMDAS and evaluate. So I'm looking at grouping, which we don't really have any grouping because all of this is multiplication. So let's move on to exponents. We have one exponent here, 36, plus, now I'm going to look at multiplication and division from left to right and just multiply these things. So I have -2 times 6, -12, and I have -3 times 6, which is -18. All right, so we're left with 36 minus 12 minus 18, which is equal to 6. Let's try another one. And I have to rewrite those one more time so I can see them. All right, here we go. -2 times 6 plus 6 minus -2. That's why we need parentheses. Plus 3. Because you have a minus a -2, you have to remember that B is divided by -5. And I'm actually going to just create some space here. Okay, so hopefully this will make it a little easier to see what I'm doing. We're going to evaluate now using GEMDAS. So we do have some grouping here. These go together and these go together. So let's take a look at this group first. Everything else can remain the same. And we're just going to evaluate the addition and subtraction within this group from left to right. So we have 6 plus 6 minus -2, which is the same thing as, I'm going to do this over here, 6 plus 6 plus 2, which is equal to 14, plus 3 divided by -5. Now we're going to look at our multiplication and division, but actually we have to remember that fraction bars create groups. So we have a group on the top and we have a group on the bottom. So we're going to evaluate this top first. We're going to do our multiplication first, followed by our addition and subtraction. So -28 plus 3 divided by -5. And we're going to evaluate our top group again. And finally, we're going to evaluate our division, and this is equal to 5. Here's our last one. We have 5 times A, which is 6, over C, which is 3, minus -2. Fraction bars create groups, so let's evaluate this top group, 30 over 3, minus -2. Well, that's the same thing as plus. Now we're going to evaluate our multiplication and division before we evaluate our addition, and we are left with 10 plus 2, which is 12. I want to talk to you guys about absolute value, And keep in mind, this is the one we just evaluated, and it was spit out to 12. What happens if we evaluate the same thing, and now we have the absolute value of b here? We have 5 times 6 divided by 3 minus the absolute value of negative 2. And the absolute value of negative 2, well, that's positive 2. Anything that we put inside these absolute value bars is going to come out positive, right? So now we're looking at 30 over 3 minus a positive 2, because remember, this is the absolute value of negative 2, which is 10 minus 2, which is equal to 8. So I want you to think about, be very careful if you see these absolute value bars, and I want you to think about absolute value like a washing machine. Just like a washing machine, it doesn't matter if you put the clothes in clean or dirty, the clothes will come out clean. Absolute value works the same way. It doesn't matter if you put in a positive 5 or a negative 5, it's going to get spit out as a positive 5. If the sign, the negative sign, is on the outside, well, now you're looking at a negative and then this group. So that's going to be negative. We're going to compare a couple and hopefully this will become clearer. So I've put in a 5, I get out a 5. It's positive. I put in a negative 5, I get out a 5. It's also positive. Now I'm looking at the negative absolute value of 5. This is negative 5. And now I'm looking at the negative absolute value of negative 5. Even though this is positive 5, when this negative is on the outside, this is negative 5. Okay, so let's try a couple again. We're still using those same numbers. So if I have negative absolute value of negative 2, well, it doesn't matter what I put into this washing machine here, it's going to come out positive, but this negative sign is still on the outside. So you have negative 2. Let's try a couple more. Did I say a couple more? I meant one more. We have the absolute value, whoopsie, the absolute value of negative 2 minus 6. We're going to evaluate this grouping inside here, and it doesn't matter what I put into the washing machine, whether it's positive or negative, it comes out positive. Thanks for watching, and I hope this was helpful.